Free and fair elections are the hallmark of a well-functioning democracy and the foundation of a legitimate and stable government. Electoral observers in Teso sub-region now want government to improve the management of electoral process in addition to disciplining the errant officers.
We can no longer afford to spend as if we are a superpower. You can't afford to spend money in a manner that generates problems. We can't sustain it with the likelihood of sanctions. I think it is time for us to cut the size of parliament. You have witnessed what the people in Ikumi are saying. We must cut the size of parliament. We must cut the size of cabinet. We must cut the size of government. We must restructure government into regional blocks, regional governments, so that we redeem the money and we begin to run ourselves in a manner we can.
Now, if we cut the number of cabinet ministers to 21, would have done Uganda a favor, would have saved the money that we use for the convoys, the money that we use for allowances, and that money we allocate to health centers, that money we allocate to schools, that money we allocate to different sectors that we feel are very important to the community. Out of the 529 members of parliament, if we cut them to 120.
The regime critics warn that if the escalating corruption levels are not stamped out, the economy is seemingly on upward trend and might stumble. They feel it's time for the Ugandan government to run its economy without donations from the West.
When you come to corruption, actually, it is actually laughable in the country when the president actually is a pillar when he fought in the war. In Luero, the Bush War in 1981 to 1985, before he came to power. One of the pillars that he had was that he was fighting to eliminate corruption that Obote had in the country. But actually, later the Ugandans get to know that I think Museveni had not got an opportunity to rob the country.
It's the time that we need to ask, do we need to have UPDF in parliament? Do we need to have duplication of representation in parliament, workers, youth and others? Because if we have a direct member of parliament, is able to do everything.
The aspect of presidential term limits review, scrapping of the resident district commissioners are amongst the key reforms they need.
People, if government ignores this message, it will be forced. It will be forced to reform, but with a big embarrassment and shame like it happened to Greece.
An aspect, there is a cry from society that the number of MPs has skyrocketed to over 500. And yet when you look at the participation in parliament, there are less than 150 MPs active in parliament. So there is no need to have such a huge parliament. So there is need to reform the administrative units in terms of constituencies. How big should the constituency be in terms of populations?
Recently, the Minister of Constitutional Affairs, Norbert Mao, also made a proposal for the reinstatement of the presidential term limits and proportional representation in parliament, among other constitutional amendments. Stephen Ojachor, this is my story.